getting come back home. You only hold back, getting come back home. You only like you come, getting come back home. You only hold back, getting come back home. You only like you come, getting come back home. You only hold back, getting come back home. You only like you come, getting come back home. You only hold back.
Cutiecalities, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to crochet a Balmain inspired crochet top. I saw this top online for £700 and I'm going to be showing you guys how you can make this top for under £10. It's a very easy top and you're only gonna need one skein of yarn. And I made this top for my sister-in-law who is all the way in Brazil, and she already sent me a lot of cute pictures of her wearing the top, and this is what the top looks like on her. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you do, make sure you give a massive thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe so you can join the Cutiecality family and watch more of my videos. And if you make this top, make sure to share with me on all of my social media. Enjoy the video and let's begin. For this project I'm going to be using Ivory buttons, a 4mm hook, thread and needle, a measuring tape, a small pair of scissors, a Lycra fabric to line the top, and some beads. And for my yarns I'm going to be using the colors cream and gold, and they will be linked below for you guys to check it out. So the first thing that you want to focus on is going to be the waist. So that's the first thing that you're going to be doing for this top, and you're going to be creating this that I'm going to be showing you guys from the back all the way to the other side, so going around your waist, and then of course both parts meet here at the back. If you want, you can add the zipper, but I'm not going to be doing that, so it's going to be up to you. So once you have taken your measurement, so this one is going to be around 67 to 68 centimeters, because I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a medium top, okay? If you want to do a smaller top, then of course you can just make as many rows as you need until you have the centimeter that you want, okay? If you want a 65, then you do 65 centimeters of rows. If you want more, then you do more. And also you guys can choose how wide you want here for the waist. I decided to do 8 centimeters, as you can see, but that's gonna be up to you. You can do a little less or even a little more. So first we are going to be starting with a slip knot. And once you have the centimeters of how wide you want your waist to be, you're going to be making that centimeters of chains. So I decided to do 8 centimeters, so that for me is 13 chains. So now we are going to be starting with the double crochets. So you're going to be counting here 1, 2, 3. On the 4th chain, you're going to be creating your first double crochet. And then you're going to go all the way down with double crochets. So as you can see here, we have 11 double crochets including the chain at the beginning. So now we are going to be doing the cross stitching. So you're going to be chaining 3, turn project. You're going to be skipping the very first stitch because it's from the chain, and then you're going to be skipping the second, and on the 3rd stitch you're going to be creating a double crochet. So now we are going to go back into the stitch that we skipped and then creating the double crochet into that stitch. So now you're going to be skipping the next stitch into the next one. You're going to be creating the double crochet, so just following the same steps, and then going back into the previous stitch and creating the double crochet. And then you're just going to be following the same steps all the way down. And then when you have 2 stitches left, you're going to be doing the first double crochet on the very last one. and then go back to the one you just skipped and then create the last double crochet. So now for the next row you're going to be chaining 3, so we are going to be doing the next row with only double crochets. Turn project, and you're going to be following the stitches that you have here in the base. So skipping the very first stitch into the second one, double crochet, and then create double crochets all the way down. So now next row, chain 3, turn project. So now the next row is going to be with the cross stitches. So skip first, second, the third one, double crochet, and then go back and then double crochet, and then repeat all the way down. So this is how it looks like, and you're going to be now continuing doing as many rows as you need until you have the centimeters of your waist. So once you have all the rows that you need, you're going to be chaining 1, cutting the yarn, and then you can fasten off. And if you guys want to know, for this one I did 40 rows. So now we are going to be doing the second color, which is the one here in black. So we are going to be doing a few rows here and also going all the way up here as well in the middle. So for my next color I'm going to be using this one right here. So you're going to be making a slip knot, and then you're going to be choosing one of the sides, and then you can just attach a yarn right in one of the corners. So I'm going to be attaching my yarn into this corner right here. So choose a stitch, insert a hook, grab the yarn, and then slip stitch. So now first row that we're going to be doing is with double crochets only. So you're going to be chaining 3, and then you're going to be basically find stitches and create your double crochets. So 1 here on top of the double crochet, and then 1 in between the double crochets. So 1 on top and 1 in the middle, and then you're going to be doing that all the way down, and then I'll meet you guys at the end. And when you get here at the end, you're just going to be doing the last 2 double crochets. So 1 here in between double crochets, and then the last one you're just going to be finding a very last stitch and create the last double crochet. So now we are going to go to the next row. So you're going to be chaining 3, turn project, and we are going to be doing the same as we did for this part right here. So 1 row with only double crochets, and then the next row with cross stitches. So skip a stitch into the next one, a double crochet, go back into that stitch, and then double crochet. And then you're going to be doing the cross stitches all the way down. So if you finish the row with 1 stitch only, then you're just going to be creating a double crochet on top of that stitch. And if you finish with 2, then you're just going to be finishing off with the very last cross stitch. So it doesn't matter if you finish with 1 or 2, you're just going to be basically finishing off the row. So now you're going to be completing 2 more rows, so 1 with double crochets and 1 more with cross stitches, and that's going to be around 4 centimeters. So what you're going to be doing is getting that centimeter that you did for the waist and dividing into 2, so that's 4 centimeters for me, of course, because I did 8 centimeters, so that's 4 centimeters for my project. And then that's going to be basically how many rows you're going to be doing for the rest of the project. So I'm going to be doing my 2 last rows that I have to do for this row, and then I'll come back so we can do the middle strip together. So this is how it looks like once you complete the 4 rows and the 4 centimeters that we are supposed to do. Now you can fasten off, so chain 1 and fasten off. So now you're going to be folding this in half, and you're going to be finding the middle stitch. So you just want to mark this one down. So now we are going to be creating that line that goes here right in the middle. So what you're going to be doing is measuring right here what's 4 centimeters of double crochets. So you're going to be placing your measuring tape right here into any of these double crochets, and then you're going to be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So for me it's 6 double crochets, but because I want them to be right in the middle, I'm going to be adding one more. So I'm going to be doing 7 double crochets for the middle right here. So this one is the 1, and then you're going to be counting 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I'm going to be attaching my yarn into that stitch and then working 6 that way, and then just working with double crochets and cross stitches right in this part. So now you can just go ahead and attach your yarn into any of the stitches that you want. So now I'm just going to be working with double crochets. I have here cross stitches, so my next row is double crochets, so chain 3 and then work with double crochets for 6 stitches. There we go. So now I'm just going to be following exactly what I did right here, so double crochets and cross stitches. So now you can repeat the same steps until you reach your collarbones. So I'm just going to be leaving my yarn right here until I have both triangles completed and one of them already sewn in the project, so that I know exactly how many rows I have to do for both of them. So the triangle looks like this, that I have one already completed. So what you want to make sure that it does, it's basically that it covers all this, so all the way up, and also all the way to the side. So this is the sequence that I'm going to be working on. So gold, cream, gold, and cream. And then we have the gold here in the middle. So the triangle is very simple. So we are going to be starting with a magic ring. So now we are going to be starting with a chain of 3 and 2 double crochets inside of the ring. And then you're going to be chaining 3 and 3 more double crochets inside of the ring. So now you can just close the magic ring by pulling this one very tight. So now you can chain 1 and fasten off, and then we are going to be changing the color. So now with my next color, I'm going to be creating a slip knot and attach to one of the corners. And then I'm going to be creating a chain of 3, and then into that same stitch I'm going to be creating 2 double crochets. So on every end you're going to be adding 3 double crochets, and then now to go into the next chain we are going to be chaining 1 and then go into the chain 3 right here, and then create 3 double crochets. So we are going to be repeating the very beginning right here. Chain 3 and 3 more double crochets. So now you're going to be chaining 1 and then going into the very last stitch right here and creating 3 double crochets into that stitch. So once you make 2 rows, everything else is going to be a little bit easier. So you're going to be chaining 3, turn project, into the very first stitch, 2 double crochets. And then you're going to be chaining 1, going into the next chain, so 1 chain space, and then you're going to be creating 3 double crochets. Chaining 1 and then creating that sequence here on the chain 3 space. So 3 double crochets, chain 3 and 3 more double crochets. Chain 1, go into the next chain space and then 3 double crochets. Chain 1, go into the very last stitch and then create the 3 last double crochets. So now I'm just going to be doing this row and then I'll show you guys the row with the gold. So this is how it looks like with 4 rows completed. Remembering that I've started here with only 1 row with the gold and then here 3 rows with the cream, and I am going to be doing 3 rows each. So 3 for the cream and 3 for the gold, and then lastly 3 for the cream. And then I've just started here with 1 because then it fits that little space that I have perfectly, okay? So you have to kind of like work it out to see how it's gonna be fitting and how many rows you have to do so it fits that space perfectly. So once you have 3 rows completed, you're going to be chaining 1 and then you can fasten off. So with my gold yarn, I'm going to be doing the same, so chaining 3 into the very first stitch, 2 double crochets so I can start the row, and then chaining 1, going to the next chain space available, 3 double crochets, chaining 1 into the next space, 3 double crochets, and then repeating the same until I get all the way to the 3 chain space. So when you get here to the top, you're going to be doing 3 double crochets, chaining 3 plus 3 double crochets, and then you're going to be chaining 1 and then repeating the same as you did on the other side on this side right here. So this is how it looks like once you start changing the color. So now you're going to be creating as many rows as you need and changing the color as many times as you need, and it's also going to depend on how many rows you did for the beginning on the waist, and of course this is going to be changing as well if you do bigger or smaller. So now I'm just going to be doing as many rows as I need, and then I'll come back to show you guys what to do next. So once you have the rows you need, you're going to be chaining 1 and you can fasten off. So before we attach these triangles to the top, I'm going to be weaving in all the yarns that I have here in the triangles. So to help me with that, I'm going to be using my tapestry needle, and then I'm just going to go through some stitches. And then I fasten off one more time, so I go through this stitch twice, so once and twice, and then I fasten off. And then I cut my yarn, and this is how I weave in my yarns. So when you have both triangles completed, you're going to be making sure that everything is on the reverse. So I've placed here a little stitch marker just to know where the reverse is, and then you're just going to be placing the triangles where they're supposed to be. And then using my tapestry needle and a little bit of the yarn, I'm going to be using this one right here. I'm going to be sewing my triangles just right here. So I'm going to be starting right here and then working all my way up. So you're gonna get 1 stitch from this side, so the very first that you can find, and then 1 stitch from this side, and sewing both of them together. And then at the end right here, I'm going to be making a knot. So I'm just going to be getting 1 stitch from one side and 1 stitch from the other side and sewing both parts together, and I'm just going to be doing that all the way up. And I'm also just getting the back stitch. I'm leaving the front stitch showing, so it has a very nice finish at the front. So this is how it looks like if you get only the back stitch. When you get here in the corner, is exactly the same, but then you're just going to be choosing a stitch that you want to be sewing on this side, because we don't really have stitches right here. So when you're reaching here at the top, what you're going to be checking is if you need to add or take away rows right here. So I still have 20 rows, I haven't added any rows. What I'm going to be doing now, I'm going to fasten off, and then I'm just going to be finishing here the sewing and then fasten off this part. Finished one side, and this is how the sewing looks like on this side, on the right side. So now what I'm going to be doing is sewing the other side, and then I'll come back to show you guys what to do next. So when you finish sewing both parts, what we are going to be doing is creating 1 row with double crochets coming from here and going all the way around, and then finishing off on the other side right here. This one I'm going to be leaving raw like this. If you want, you can go all the way around as well. I'm just gonna go on the top and then onto the other side. And I'm going to be using my gold yarn again, so chain 3 and then start your double crochets, and then do that all the way to the other side. So once you have created all of the edging here with the double crochets, we are going to be creating this strap here that goes around the neck. So we are going to be copying exactly what we did right here, and it's going to be exactly the same amount of double crochets and also the cross stitches, but of course to fit your neck. So for my neck, I'm going to be doing around 32 centimeters, and I'm going to be adding a little bit more for the buttons at the back. So for the neck, you're going to be creating a slip knot, and then you're going to be chaining 9. And then you're going to be counting 1, 2, 3. On the 4th stitch, you're going to be creating your first double crochet. And then you're going to be creating double crochets all the way down. So here I have 7 double crochets, including the chain at the beginning. So now we are going to be creating the row with the cross stitches. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and create as many rows as I need with double crochets and cross stitches, and then I'll be back and I'll let you know how many rows I did. So if you completed the neck, you can chain 1, fasten off, and weave in the yarn. So I have completed here the parts that is gonna go around my neck, and this one is 35 centimeters, and I've added here 3 centimeters for the buttons. So once you've done that, we are going to be attaching into the neck right here, just like that. So just make sure that your top is on the reverse. Now you want to find the middle of your neck. I'm going to be placing a stitch marker right here, and then now you're going to be using the same technique that I showed you guys when sewing to sew the neck right here, and then we are going to be adding the buttons at the back. So now we are going to be choosing the buttons that we are going to be placing here on the neck. So I'm going to be using these buttons right here because it matches this part right here on the top. So now you need to choose where you want to place them. I'm going to be placing them here, because then if I needed to make it a little bit tighter, then I can just go into this row right here and it's a little bit tighter. And if I want a little bit looser, then I just place on the very first row right here. If you want to use the thread and needle to sew the buttons, you can. I'm going to be using my gold yarn, and I've changed my needle. This one is a little bit thinner that goes through the buttonhole, as you can see. So I'm going to be placing 2, just like that. And the only thing that you want to make sure is that you grab a little bit of the yarn and then place the button, and you're going to be sewing that together and go back. Then you want to make a little knot here at the back. Now you just want to go back and forth until it's very nice and secured. So when you're done, you go to the back, and then you can just fasten off and cut the yarn. And then you can just go through the very first row if you want, or the second, just like that. So now I'm just going to be attaching the other one, and then I'll show you guys how to do the back strap. So for the back strap, I'm going to be using the cream and the gold yarn. So both of them together. I'm going to be leaving a little bit of the yarn here on the bottom. I'm going to be creating a slip knot, and I'm going to be creating a chain that is long enough to go through here and tie a little bow on the bottom. I'm going to let you know how many I did, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back to let you guys know. So I've created a chain of 220. So once you've finished, you're going to be chaining 1, so plus 1, you're going to be cutting the yarn and you can fasten off. So now the last two things that I'm going to be doing for my project is adding a lining right here in the triangle, because it's a little bit see-through, as you can see, because of the granny square. So I'm going to be using a Lycra fabric to line this up. I showed you guys already how to do that on my channel, so I'm going to be linking down the video for you guys to check it out. So I made here a triangle with my lining, and I'm just going to be sewing it right here. I'm going to be using my thread and needle, and I'm just going to be doing a very simple sewing, just going all the way around. So the lining is now done, so now I'm going to be putting the strap here at the back. So I'm going to be starting right at the top, and then I'm going to go down in a zigzag motion. And if you want, you can buy beads like this one and add So this is everything for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed my Balmain inspired crochet top, and if you did, make sure you give a massive thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe so you can join the Cutiecalities family and watch more of my videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.